Hi there, I'm Matt Keene. Thanks for visiting Creating a Future We Want. Yeah! The Our Learning series, where I share just a little bit about what we're learning. Sometimes what my 6 and 10-year-old are learning, but usually I'm pretty sure it's this guy who's doing the learning. Today, advice. That's the topic. That's what we're learning about. How to deal with it, how to receive it, what to do with it. I don't think I'm going to answer any of those questions right there, but the topic is definitely advice. So, I grew up playing some sports, decent athlete, enormous, focus, ambition, motivation, determination, um, not wonderful genetics. I don't think my body was just really, it wasn't built for intense um, stress over the long period. And by the time I was 20, I mean, did I ever run again after I was 20? I don't think so. Definitely wasn't playing any like soccer anymore, or really tennis or anything. So I started surfing, and a couple years later, started surfing, and yeah, basically got a surfboard and went to Central America and was like, I'm either drowning or learning to surf. Well, neither of those things happened, sadly. Well, no, sadly. What am I talking about? I'm glad I didn't drown. Very glad. But uh, the learning to surf thing is still ongoing. I not because well, so I go on a surf trip most winters with some friends, and one very good friend in particular is an excellent surfer, grew up surfing, grew up in the ocean, different than me. Clearly, when I watch him surf, and I'm like, there's some stuff going on there that's kind of unfamiliar to me. Like, it's not naturally built into me to behave that way on the wave, and it's just really cool to see, just to watch it. I'd like to say I learn a lot. Mainly, it's not learning about how I do it and that I end up doing it that well or better. It's usually that I'm just learning, oh, that's what I'm not doing. So, not that it's important to this at all, but I have a board. So I went on a surf trip recently, and with this good friend, and had a new board. I had a twin, a Hypto Crypto Twin 6.0. It's maybe a little bit big for me, um, but good for the East Coast. Central America is a little big, maybe, I don't know. But anyways, it was a real struggle. I went from like yeah, it it was a struggle. A struggle. Um but I eventually, started to dial it in, figure it out, and my buddy I'm always asking this friend, how do I improve? What do I do to get better? And he's a very tactful guy, and he doesn't really lay it on me maybe the way I would like him to. I would really want to, like, you've got to do this and that and that. Well, I don't know, maybe surf doesn't really work that way. After 20 some years of doing it, I should know something about it, but I really don't think I do. So occasionally he's like, you should go for the barrel more. Well, I suck at that, so that doesn't happen as much as it should. But he said, oh, you're learning to ride that twin well. And I was like, yeah, that's right, Matt. Use some of that flexibility, all that yoga you're doing. You should, loosen up a little bit with riding the twin. And I was like, interesting feeling I've got right there. It's one where I don't like it. I don't feel so comfortable. I could feel my ego being like, look, dude, back off. And um, it's so funny because, of course, my friend is correct. But it's just this natural thing in most of us, anyway, this protection of ego. And I think the reason I have any um, strength of ego around this topic is because I do a lot of yoga. I am I'm not very flexible, but I'm more flexible than I would be if I weren't doing tons of yoga. And I do tons of yoga because I have an autoimmune disease that attacks the connective tissue and it makes things extremely tight in my joints and everything like that. And one of those injuries that prevented me from pursuing those athletic dreams was a knee, 15 surgeries on this one knee, and transplant of part of the knee from a cadaver twice because I couldn't get enough the first time. So I have some physical stuff going on that I work extremely hard on in all sorts of dimensions of life through, you know, exercise and nutrition and uh, flexibility and all sorts of things. And yoga is a part of probably all of that. And so he was like, use some of that flexibility, intimating, I inferred he was saying I don't look very flexible, very agile when I'm surfing. And yeah, probably not, especially as I'm learning to ride this twin, but I probably don't at all because I do have this in me, this leg doesn't bend past 90 degrees. So I do have this very constrained approach, I'm sure. And it probably does look pretty rigid, and it's painful to say that, thinking so much about it and working on surfing so much, and to have a somewhat rigid, inflexible style, it hurts a little bit. But what do you do with advice, right? This is the advice I asked for, and I had to think about it, reflect on it. It's something, I call this a little bit like parsing the morality, considering the relationship between the values and the actions. My friend's values are, he's compassionate, kind, giving, generous person. He cares about me and he cares about my well-being. He said these words, he took this action, and it was aligned with his values. It was a moral action from his perspective and my perspective. That was morality, right? Good example of healthful morality right there. And it's up to me to see that and recognize that. I could allow my ego to be like, back off, buddy. You go get flexible. Your serving looks tight or rigid. But of course, that's just, me trying to win versus be correct. And what do we want? I want to be right. I want to improve. I want to improve the surf. I want to improve the art form. I want to improve performance. I want to learn. I want to learn. I want to gain the wisdom. Got to push that ego down sometimes so that the wisdom is accessible. So, with the girls, you talk about this. We are always in a process of giving advice because we're often in this, instructor-pupil relationship. Try to balance it with lots of cooperation, lots of them teaching me with things, lots of facilitation, and other types of dynamics in our relationship. But how they receive advice and what they do with it, that reflection and dealing with that chatter, right? I read a good book called Chatter recently. It's good stuff. It's a critical thing. There's a lot of pearls of wisdom coming at us all the time. Well, I guess there are. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of wise people I come across, and it's up to me to allow access to the wisdom and parse the morality, right? To see, are there, do my values and actions align? What is their motivation? Do their values and actions line up with mine? It's a tough thing, requires a lot of attention, But that's some of the stuff we're talking about right now. How to allow all the advice to come and then sort through, filter it, and apply it in the right places of our lives, and make the best use of it. I'm Matt Keene. Thanks for visiting Creating a Future We Want, the Our Learning series.